On December 4th, 1991, the most famous airline on the planet just stopped flying. No dramatic crash, no single scandal. One day, it was the airline that invented the modern jet age, flew presidents, flew movie stars, put the first 747 in the sky. The next day, gone. 7,500 people lost their jobs overnight. So what actually happened? Everyone assumes it was one thing, a disaster, a bad CEO, bad luck. It wasn't one thing. It was 20 years of small cracks that all broke at once. Today, we're going through exactly how. Let's go back to the beginning, because you need to understand how big this company actually was to understand how shocking the fall felt. Pan Am was founded in 1927 by a man named Juan Trippe. If you want to know what visionary actually looked like in early aviation, this is the guy. Trippe built Pan Am into America's unofficial flag carrier internationally, meaning if you were flying overseas from the US before deregulation, there's a good chance you were flying Pan Am. By 1970, Pan Am had just brought in a brand new fleet of Boeing 747s, the plane that basically defined what modern air travel even looks like. That year alone, they flew 11 million passengers to 86 countries. This was the airline. Flying Pan Am wasn't just transportation, it was a status symbol. That's important, because later, that exact reputation becomes part of what destroys them. Here's where it starts going wrong, and it starts earlier than most people think, the 1970s, not the 90s. 1973, the Yom Kippur War breaks out. Arab oil-producing nations place an embargo on the US. Oil prices spike. Every airline gets hit by this. But Pan Am, running a massive international fleet, gets hit especially hard. Then, 1978, President Carter signs the Airline Deregulation Act. Before this, the US government tightly controlled airline routes and pricing. Deregulation blew that open. Suddenly, new, leaner airlines could compete on price in ways they never could before. Pan Am was built for an era of controlled competition, not a price war. And here's the mistake that really set the collapse in motion. Pan Am had no domestic US routes, none. Purely international. So in 1980, they spent $437 million to acquire national airlines, just to get access to domestic routes. It backfired. The two airline systems and cultures didn't integrate well. The acquisition was expensive. It added debt without adding the returns Pan Am needed. So heading into the 1980s, rising fuel costs, new deregulated competition, a botched acquisition, Pan Am starts doing something that becomes a pattern for the rest of its life. Selling off pieces of itself just to survive. The Pacific Division, its landmark Manhattan office building, the intercontinental hotel chain it owned, even its own profitable Northeast shuttle route. Every sale bought a little time. None of it fixed the actual problem. And then, December 21st, 1988. This is the moment most people do remember. Pan Am Flight 103. Flying from London to New York. Destroyed by a terrorist bomb over Lockerbie, Scotland. I want to be careful here. This is a real tragedy with real victims, not just a plot point in a business story. But from a business standpoint. And this is the uncomfortable truth. Lockerbie didn't just cost Pan Am in lawsuits and fines. Though it did. A $300 million lawsuit. FAA fines for 19 separate security violations. It cost them something they couldn't buy back. For 60 years, Pan Am's entire brand was built on one word. Safety. Prestige. Trust. Lockerbie didn't just damage that reputation. Investigations later found security failures at the airport that let the bomb get on the plane in the first place. That's the part that really broke trust. It wasn't just a tragedy happened to this airline. It was this airline's security failed. American travelers, Pan Am's core customer base, started avoiding international routes altogether. Or picked airlines seen as safer. Bookings collapsed at the exact moment Pan Am could least afford it. By January 1991, Pan Am files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Combined assets at this point, about $2.1 billion. Which sounds like a lot, until you see the losses were bigger. They'd lost around $2 billion overall by this stage. They tried one last plan, reinvent as a smaller airline. Centered out of Miami. With Delta Airlines buying up their transatlantic routes and shuttle service. And providing financial support to keep a slimmed-down Pan Am alive. And then, almost like the universe wasn't done yet, the Gulf War breaks out. 1990 into 1991. Oil prices spike again. International travel drops again. Pan Am was losing up to $3 million a day in its final weeks. Delta looked at the numbers, pulled its financial support. Without that funding, Pan Am CEO at the time said plainly, they simply didn't have the cash to keep going. December 4th, 1991. Last flight, Bridgetown, Barbados to Miami. After 64 years, Pan Am was gone. So what actually killed Pan Am? If you want one villain, you won't find one. What you'll find is a company that got hit by 5 or 6 separate, serious problems. Oil shocks, deregulation, a bad acquisition, a security failure with human costs, another oil shock, and never had enough financial cushion left to absorb the next one. The real lesson isn't airlines are risky, it's this. Prestige and history don't protect you from structural problems. Pan Am's brand was as strong as any company's ever been. And it still weakened, sale by sale, crisis by crisis, until there was nothing left to sell. If you want to see this same pattern, legacy brand, slow bleed, one final shock, in a completely different industry, that's coming in a future video. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it.